Good evening, friends. Welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Mercy. Before we start with this week's topic, I would like to thank each and everyone for giving such a wonderful response for my first video. Thank you for all those encouraging comments, and I really look forward to being a part of your being aware, your awareness towards health and how we can collaborate together to attain a perfect balance between mind and body. So today I have chosen a topic which is very common with kind of that middle age phase of our lives, where we come across this term which is so ill famous, which is cholesterol. Like in your 40s you are enjoying life, and you are sometimes being troubled with this kind of an entity, and you kind of you need to take some dietary modifications or lifestyle changes towards that. And it would always be helpful, if we know something about what is causing that, what it is actually, and how we can take control about it in a holistic way. So lipid profile is one test which we usually undergo in an annual wellness check. Like after 45 years of age, it is recommended that yearly at least once you should be, or we should be having the lipid profile checked, so that it gives us a fair condition of the health of our arteries. Like how are they being deposited by plaques, which will further lead into clogging of the arteries, blockages, and which can further lead to stroke or MI or cardiovascular heart disease or coronary artery diseases. So in order to be well aware of the status of our arteries, and in turn status of our well-being, it is one step towards being aware. So lipid profile test, what does it contains? It basically checks the two things: cholesterol and triglycerides. Now cholesterol is something which it's made up of lipids, which is in common man's term it is fats. So cholesterol in itself, it cannot travel in the body, it cannot travel on its own. So what happens is, it is binded, it gets bind with other lipid particles, and then this kind of globule is covered with a protein. So now this kind of a mixture and a ball of lipids and cholesterol covered with a protein layer is basically cholesterol. So now this can be this can travel through our blood system, and it reaches to wherever it is required. Now cholesterol is only famous that it causes problem. It has some functions as well. Like in proper amount, in appropriate amounts, it actually has functions to perform. But in excess, usually in excess, anything is harmful. The same way, in excess, cholesterol also causes adverse effects in our body. So what are the basic functions of cholesterol, which is very less discussed about? It is required for the to make vitamin D in our body, and then to synthesize estrogen and progesterone hormones, the female and the male hormones to some extent. So these are the actual functions of cholesterol. Now this is until it is into the appropriate value. Once it goes or passes beyond the desired level, then it becomes harmful to our body. So what we usually eat, now that is basically calories. So unless and until we are into calorie counting or having a calorie deficit diet, unless and until that, not everyone is. So we are usually tend to basically eat more, or like more than what is required, or else we eat something and we do not burn that. So any which way there is an excess of calorie. So that is the basic logic. Now, increased cholesterol, it doesn't have any signs and symptoms. It will not give you a headache. It will not cause you any edema or swelling or puffiness. It will not cause you any tiredness unless it is in an advanced stage where it will clog the arteries and then you will have shortness of breath. We're talking about the preliminary stages. Cholesterol in itself will never have any signs and symptoms. So we'll first understand what total cholesterol is. Total cholesterol value is the sum value of our HDL and LDL. HDL is the good cholesterol and LDL is the bad cholesterol. LDL is also called as bad cholesterol. Why? Because it defines the how healthy we are with respect to plaques or atherosclerosis. So now what happens is this cholesterol, which are lipoprotein, they get lodged into the inner walls of our arteries, and then they narrow the lumen of our arteries. So obviously the blood flow, the lumen or the space available for the easy flow of blood is hampered in our arteries, and then there are plaques which get dislodged, and then they go and get lodged into vital organs like in our heart, which can cause further into a myocardial infarction or a heart attack. If it goes and lodges into the brain, it causes symptoms of stroke. So this is something which makes the LDL or the bad cholesterol be termed as bad. HDL is the good cholesterol. Now good cholesterol is in our body acts as a vacuum cleaner. As I always say, it depends upon which brand of vacuum cleaner you have. Is it a branded one like a Dyson vacuum cleaner or a local brand vacuum cleaner? So HDL is something which is genetic. You have to thank your mom and dad if your HDL is ideal, because even after many efforts and much health directed efforts, sometimes people are struggling to maintain their HDL in the desired range only because of one particular gene, which is autosomal recessive. So HDL is a genetic problem, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be taken care of. We will discuss upon that later in our discussion. What does HDL function? HDL tries to lower our LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. It mobilizes that and goes and dumps that into the liver. Now liver functions such that it excretes the LDL out of our body. So in short, high density lipoprotein or HDL or good cholesterol helps to carry away the LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. So that is why I say it helps as a vacuum cleaner. Okay, so triglycerides. Now we move on to the triglycerides. Triglycerides are what? It's type of fat it was one type of fat in the blood. Okay, so what we eat, as I said earlier, we eat, and that is measured in calories. Now we do, unless and until we are health freak and we are counting the calories of each and every thing which we are ingesting or eating, there is always bound to be chances that we are eating in excess, or at least if not in excess, we are burning calories less than what we are eating. So there is always a mismatch about your calorie intake and the fats that you are burning or calories that you are burning. So that extra calories what is there in your body are, which actually are not required and are in excess. That is why we call them as extra. So they get stored into our fat cells, and this is called as the triglycerides. This is the value of triglycerides, the excess calories. So hence what we say shatapauli after we eat, or morning walks, like after the the dinner we have on the earlier night, it has to be digested, or the calories have to be burned so as to not have that extra before we again load our body with the next day's breakfast. So triglycerides, what are the risk factors for triglycerides? They are first obesity, obviously, because of the calorie intake. Then diets such as sweets, which are rich in sweets, like sugars, refined sugar. Then alcohol, smoking is a risk factor. Sedentary lifestyle, which nowadays, because of 9 hours of duty and again traveling in in premium class city buses, so that is kind of a sedentary lifestyle with very less activity, physical activity. And then diabetes mellitus is one risk factor for triglyceride. So we discussed that the frequency of testing or screening for for cholesterol or lipid panel is usually once in a year for ages 45 and above, both males and females. So how now, suppose if we know that we have it's like it's the levels of our HDL or LDL are in a wreck. So how do we correct those? How do we rectify those? First basic thing is some dietary changes. So dietary changes and lifestyle changes. So dietary changes in ways such that we incorporate more of fibers in our diet. So fibers, how can we increase the fiber in our diet? By the highest sources of fiber is oatmeal. Oatmeal in the sense like the coarsely ground oats. So these, why? Because these are soluble fiber. Okay. Then kidney beans are rich in fiber. Kidney beans in the sense rajma. Then fruits are always rich in fiber. Example, apples and pears, etc. So what does soluble fiber actually, how do they work? Soluble fiber, they reduce the absorption of cholesterol in our bloodstream. Even if there is cholesterol in the bloodstream, it is not absorbed because of the soluble fiber. Okay, and it helps to, again, as HDL works, it helps to carry away the LDL. So basically the optimum requirement of dietary soluble fiber is 5 to 10 grams. Now if in the morning one bowl of oatmeal will serve you 3 to 5 grams of soluble fiber. So this is kind of a tad bit low than your daily requirement. So you can bounce it up by a banana or maybe some berries, like all kinds of berries, blueberries, strawberries, all kinds of berries are the healthiest fruit you can have. Obviously those are also very expensive, but yes, according to the dietary ingredients, they are the best one can have. What else can we incorporate in our diet? For people who have mixed diet, in the sense vegetarian as well as non-vegetarian, they can incorporate fish more rather than meat. In the sense organ meat, you have to reduce organ meat, like when you consume liver or brain, or like what we call a bheja fry, or the liver what you eat of the chicken or something like that. So these are organ meat, and those are harmful. Instead of that, replace that with fish. Fish has high quantity of omega-3 fatty acid. So people who are with a who are vegetarian, having a vegetarian diet, can incorporate pills. They can pop one pill of omega-3 fatty acids per day. So fishes like mackerel, which is bangla in Marathi, then tuna, which is kupa, salmon, ravas, which is a very highly nutritious fish, and so these kind of changes in your diet at least twice a week will increase your omega-3 fatty acids through intake of fish or seafood. Then nuts, mid-meal snacks, like after your breakfast and before your dinner, it's highly advisable that you have some mid-meal snacks. So those snacks should ideally have comprise of nuts, basically walnuts or almonds, or flax seeds, or nuts of all kind. So again, there is one thing, when you are actually consuming nuts, please try to soak them overnight, so that the phytic acid components of the covering of these nuts is released and it is not getting into our system. So that is the healthiest way we can consume nuts. Soak them on the night prior, peel them off, and then have. Okay. So then how do we things which we increase are these soluble fiber like oatmeal and all, then reducing of organ meat, and increase of fishes. Again, we can limit saturated fats. Saturated fats are found in margarines or over the counter cookies or cakes or crackers. So limit that, and butter and cheese. So cheese is something which we have to, even if that is something which you actually really like or crave, we have to be diligent about that. So butter and cheese after 45, maybe in an amount which is just appropriate, not in excess. So HDL is now deep diving upon, how do we increase the HDL, because the more the HDL, the more healthy you are. Why? Because it is helping in carrying away the LDL. So you have to put your efforts such that you are increasing your HDL. So increasing a HDL, the first thing comes in my mind is exercise. Okay, and then if we have habits like smoking, so maybe an attempt to wean that, or completely cessation of smoking, efforts towards that will help in increasing the HDL. And again, as I discussed, it is genetic, so you have to thank your family for if you have a very good familial gene of having a very nicely balanced HDL, or if even after your full-hearted efforts, still if the HDL is not in the desired range, you again have to blame your parents or your family because of the autosomal dominant pattern. There is one gene which is called as ABCA1 or APOA1, and there is an alteration in that gene in each cell, and this your HDL, in spite of all your attempts, is kind of never into the desired range. So how do we reduce the triglycerides? The triglycerides we can reduce by reducing the intake of sugar in our diet day to day. Then reducing refined foods like maida, refined flour. So refined flour is like breads, cakes, cookies, all that stuff. And increasing fiber, as we discussed, soluble fiber, and incorporation of healthy fats. Healthy fats are examples of healthy fat is 1 tablespoon of cow's ghee, or homemade ghee. So that is a healthy fat. Then reducing your alcohol intake, exercising at least 150 minutes for a week. So 30 minutes daily for 5 days in a week is recommended exercise level. If you want to lose weight, it will be more, but at least for your healthy lifestyle, you have to maintain on an average 5 days a week and 30 minutes per day. That is one calculation. And obviously weight control. So weight control is with vigorous exercise, weight bearing exercises like climbing stairs, then doing weights. So these are weight bearing exercises. Now all this, I guess, information you would this information what we discussed would be really helpful to you in order to maybe modify your life or change your lifestyle and diet, so as to go towards that path of having near normal. This is life. We cannot have idealistic pictures of our lab tests every time. This is one physical body. So whatever is in books or in the paper, I cannot ideally have that in my system, but I have to make attempts such that I am at least near to that, and not something which would land me in problem in my later stages of life. So that is the whole jinx of life. Enjoy it, but with moderation and with being aware about what is good. Have yourself one binge day at least in a week, so that you enjoy yourself, your cravings, whatever you feel like, but without being guilty about it, so that 5 days a week I have actually restrained myself, and one day of binge day eating of whatever I like is not going to harm my system. So this is the a small logic I apply. And obviously there are medicines if at all these things are not working. So in allopathy we have statins, what we call, to control the lipid profile or the changes in cholesterol. So statins are like rosuvastatin, simvastatin, atorvastatin. One pill a day, usually 20 milligrams. Sometimes if no proper response, it is increased to 40 milligrams. Once a day, usually the recommended time is night time, so that what happens is there are side effects of sometimes muscle cramps. So once you take the pill and you go to sleep, you are less aware of the side effects. So that way, if at all one feels that atorvastatin is still not able to manage the cholesterol levels in our system, there are alternative methods. So in alternative methods, as I am trained into homeopathy, I practice homeopathic medicines for helping patients out of this. There are many classic medicines along with the constitutional medicines which help in a wonderful way. I have patients who have had a very nice result into cholesterol checks. So allium sativum is one kind of a homeopathic medicine. Basically the source of this medicine is oats, the oat itself. So it helps in actually regulating the cholesterol level. Then there are many other various remedies like aurum med, calcarea carb, nux vomica, crataegus oxycanthus, baraita, moor. Then there's one school of thought which says that turmeric, in research papers, it's seen that turmeric is actually helpful in lowering lowering your increased levels of cholesterol, and once they are lowered, in maintaining those levels in that desired range. So turmeric has a component called as an active ingredient of curcumin. So in US, people pop a pill of curcumin every day, usually who opt for herbal remedies. In my practice, I usually advise people to use homeopathically potentized medicine of curcumin. Okay, it gives wonderful results, and the potency is obviously depending upon the individual person and the individual case. Along these remedies, alongside with the constitutional medicine, helps in a much better way to handle our cholesterol issues. So friends, I hope this information would be useful for you who in you and your family members. If you feel this is worth sharing, do like and share with friends who would again benefit with this information. And any kind of further questions, concerns, you can comment, and please like, share and subscribe, and wish you a very healthy life. Thank you so much.